All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to now get into talking about who are the top contenders for AL and NL MVP, and who I like to win MVP going into the season. Now, it's very hard to pick against Judge and Otani. And now with Otani back on the mound this year, I mean, he's not going to pitch right away, but with him being back on the mound, that only just enhances, his quest for yet another MVP. So looking at the American League, and I'm on Fox Sports right now. So of course, Aaron Judge has the best odds to win MVP this year, and like I said, it's hard to pick against him. It's hard to pick against Otani because if Judge is healthy, I just assume Judge is going to have another big year. Bobby Witt Jr. has the next best odds, the Royals, plus 450. He had a very good year last year. I think between him, what's interesting is that you have Yordan Alvarez at plus 600, and then they have Gunnar Henderson at plus 750. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think I would definitely pick either. If I was not a Yankee fan, take my Yankee bias out of it, I definitely would go with Bobby Witt Jr. or Gunnar Henderson. I maybe would lean towards Bobby Witt because he was very close. If Judge did not have, a year that Judge usually has lately, Bobby Witt probably wins. So I might go with him. Jose Ramirez is at plus 1,500. Corey Seager's at plus 1,600. A healthy Corey Seager, he missed a lot of time last year. You got to factor him in. Mike Trout is at plus 1,600 as well. And hopefully, if Mike Trout stays healthy, maybe he is in that conversation. If Mike Trout is in that conversation, that means he's been healthy. And I hope he is healthy. That's the main thing. I talked about Mike Trout, when we first started the show, the position change. There's a decent amount of players changing positions this year. I'm hoping Mike Trout is just healthy and he could play a full season again. But unfortunately, I'm a little skeptical on that because he just really hasn't been able to do that as of late. And I hope that doesn't lead to him retiring because that could very easily be the case. So I talked about them. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is at plus 1,700. So that's the American League. Like I said, I think if I don't want to say Aaron Judge is going to win again because I feel like that's just lame. But you go back to last year. So these are Bobby Witt's stats from last year. 332 batting average, which was first in the league. 32 home runs, had 109 runs batted in, 31 stolen bases. He had a very good year. The problem is, Aaron Judge plays in the same league as you. And Judge put together another fabulous season. 58 home runs, a 322 batting average, 144 runs batted in. So first in the league in both home runs and RBIs. I mean, it's tough to beat that. But, and Aaron Judge, you could say that if he didn't get hurt, if he didn't run into that wall out in right field at Dodger Stadium a couple years ago, maybe he was on his way to winning yet another MVP and hitting 60 home runs again. So he could have won 3 straight MVPs if he stayed healthy the whole year. And then looking at Gunnar Henderson's stats from last year, he had his stats on the year: 281 batting average, 37 home runs, 92 runs batted in, 21 stolen bases. And you could also maybe put Adley Rutschman in the conversation. I know he's not, what I'm looking at, he's not really a part of the odds here, or the top odds. Jose Ramirez, of course, always got to factor him in as well. 39 home runs last season, had 118 runs batted in, which is third in the league, and also he had 41 stolen bases. Like I said, one of the more underrated players in the league. And, is a little ticked off because, the Guardians kind of traded away a lot of his friends. So, yeah, no, we'll see what kind of year he has. But now let's kind of switch over to the National League. So things have kind of changed a little bit because we had one major player go from the American League to now back to the National League, and that's Juan Soto. And he has the second best odds at plus 550. And Otani's at plus 200. Otani, it's hard to bet against him too because now he's going to be back to pitching. And if he's effective pitching and he has another season similar to last year, he's going to end up getting the MVP again. Which you could kind of look at, and again, it's not really his fault, but it's kind of unfair because it's like he plays two positions. It's hard to, compete with that unless you're Aaron Judge where you have to hit 62 home runs. But Otani last year, as just a DH, 54 home runs, 130 runs batted in, 59 stolen bases, 310 batting average. And I expect him to have another big year with the Dodgers. I know he had the off-season surgery on his shoulder. He banged that up in the World Series. But he's going to have another big year if he's healthy. And then Juan Soto had his best season as a pro. I don't know if he's going to have those exact numbers. But, yeah, he might not be as good as last year, but he's still going to be very good for the Mets. He's still going to be a very good player for the Mets. And he's going to be up there. Fernando Tatis of the Padres, he's at plus 750. Mookie Betts at plus 1,200. Bryce Harper at plus 1,400 for the Phillies. Kyle Tucker plus 1,500 for the Cubs. Ronald Acuna Jr. is plus 1,600. But he's not even going to be playing the whole year. He's going to miss some time. So you would think if, Acuna's healthy, he'd be higher up on the list. It'd be around where Soto is. And then you got Francisco Lindor plus 1,600. And Lindor, he was an MVP candidate last year. Got off to a very slow start, but he was up there. He was up there at the end of the year. He put together a very good season. And now with Juan Soto, I mean, he's a guy that you could look at and say, maybe he can have a better year than he did last year. It's definitely possible. But those are the top candidates in the National League. I mean, I would probably be lame and still favor Otani and take him. Now, the other thing that could happen is injuries. Like I said, Aaron Judge could have won 3 straight MVPs and, had he not gotten hurt. But injuries definitely could play a role. I don't want to pick the same player again. I mean, I would look to maybe taking either a Mookie Betts or, Soto, like I said, he's going to be up there, of course. Lindor, Bryce Harper. If Acuna was going to play the whole year, I maybe would choose him. But that's kind of how it looks right now, the landscape of the MVP race. But it should be fun. Really looking forward to baseball being back. Spring training, I'm gonna watch it, but I could do without it. I don't need spring training. I don't need it. Get me to the real thing. There's also pitchers you could factor in as well, for MVP, but that usually doesn't happen. It's very rare that happens. But yeah, mostly you're gonna, we're gonna take a look at the hitters, the players that play the field, and decide between them on who's gonna win MVP. Because we had Justin Verlander win it once, Kershaw won it once, but that's just in my lifetime. But yeah, I think Otani's the one exception, I guess, because he does both. He hits and pitches. But we'll see what happens. I'm always just going to assume, like I said before, that Aaron Judge is just going to have another year where he hits close to 60 home runs. And if he does that, and now he's back in right field. Odds are, he's going to be up there, and he's going to have to be because he's going to have to really carry the load for this Yankee offense. But like I said, you can make the case for Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, Jose Ramirez. I kind of discounted Yordan Alvarez. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know how Fox has him with the third best odds to win AL MVP. I mean, he's a great player, but I'd probably reshuffle the names a little bit. But then again, you could look at the Astros. I mean, they lost Bregman now. It's Alvarez and Altuve. So, they're gonna have to really step their games up this year. The Astros did go out and they got Christian Walker. You still got Jeremy Pena, and they also traded Kyle Tucker too. So there's going to be more. I don't want to say more pressure, but they're just going to have to step up. They're going to have to step up. So maybe that's why Fox maybe has it set that way. I don't know. That's just me though. But let me know what you guys think about the MVP odds for this upcoming season. It's it varies on different sites, but Judge and Ohtani are the favorites. And, there's definitely some viable candidates to maybe dethrone them this year. And we'll see if that ends up happening or if we're going to be sitting here, 8 months from now and we're like, it's the same thing, same two guys. But that's how good these two players are, Ohtani and Judge. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. So we are going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will give our overview on the season for the Washington Commanders. And that will be it for the show for today. So, for one final time today, make sure to stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.